What's going on, world? And welcome back to the Pursuit of the Good Life podcast, your favorite podcast that helps you grow both personally and professionally. I'm your host with the most, your favorite coach, the Kameron Lovelace, helping you create your version of the good life every single Thursday. All right, so y'all know how we do. We bring on great guests with great stories, with a whole bunch of different backgrounds. But we're going in the business edition of Pursuit of the Good Life because my guest that I have is not just an entrepreneur. I'd say he's a full blown business owner because he has a major business, and then he's also exploring. And we're constantly having conversations about like just growing and expanding our territory. But also, he is a husband. He is a father. He's a great man of God. So I'm real excited to get into this interview and share y'all a little bit about my brother, Mr. Kelvin Woods. Kelvin, what's going on?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you for coming on. So, all right, so tell the people who are not maybe from Memphis and not from Chattanooga, who don't know a little bit about you. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Okay, good deal. Well, I just kind of give the what is the bird's eye view perspective, and if you want to dive in deep on anything I say, just let me know. So, originally from Memphis, man. Family is from Orange Mound. Kind of grew up in Orange Mound and North Memphis. My mom moved us out to North Memphis when I was in the 8th grade. So I kind of grew up in both neighborhoods, but Orange Mound has a huge passion for it. That's where my family was born and raised. Grandparents still stay there. But went to high school over at Overton. Graduated 2005. Not sure how much you know about Overton and their program, but they have a program called CAPA, which stands for Creative and Performance Arts.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I went in the district, I had to audition to get into Overton. So I auditioned for art. I was originally supposed to go to actually Northside, or I could have used my grandparents' address and went to Melrose. I did go to Melrose my sophomore year, but that's another story. But anyway, so got into Overton, man, for art. Love drawing, love painting, things like that. But didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do for a career. So started approaching my senior year, and I kind of wanted to move in towards an architectural type role, but I wasn't that great at math. So I decided to go towards graphic design. I really wanted to do painting and drawing, but a lot of people said, it's not a lot of money in that. Most artists make money when they pass away. And of course, we grew up watching, Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous, MTV, Cribs, Pimp My Ride. So I wanted to choose a that was going to produce lifestyle as well. So I went towards the graphic design route, man. Went over to school at UTC, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and studied graphic design. But while going to school for graphic design, I started several different, ventures. A good buddy of mine, started a magazine company. He was going to school over at Knoxville. So he would drive down on the weekends. And if you walk into my dorm room my freshman year, it would literally look like a Kinko's or a FedEx office. They went through the rebranding, but it would look like a print shop. And we would work on that magazine, man, for a couple weekends before we got ready to launch it. And the printer crapped out. We spent all this money. I think we probably got maybe 50 issues printed, 50 magazines printed, but we collected a lot of ad money. So we ended up having to give people their money back, things like that. But that experience taught me a lot about entrepreneur, just about the creative, space and things like that. So it really kind of shifted my perspective. And I went on this real aggressive, just mental studying mentality, all of these things, just self-development, I guess, is the best sum it up. And I went on this real aggressive, man, self-development course and just reading, studying, listening to whatever I can get my hands on, trying to develop myself into an entrepreneur. Fast forward a little bit, started working over at FedEx Kinko's third shift while I was in school. So I go to school and I head over there and I start printing, doing production at night, and just fell in love with print, man. And I vowed that when I can afford to, get my own equipment, didn't necessarily know it was going to be in the T-shirt industry, but when I can get my own equipment, I was going to start a print company. So got married right out of college at 22. And my wife, she was in the technology industry, and she got a promotion up in Nashville. So we moved up to Nashville, and around that time, I was moving up with the company that I was with, FedEx Kinko's. I was in management, lead production coordinator, and man, walked in one day and decided, it's not something I was passionate about anymore. I didn't want to necessarily make them a lot of money when I could be doing it for myself. So walked in, man. I don't know if you're familiar with the traditional FedEx uniform, but I walked in with a suit and tie, and they instantly knew something was wrong. They was like, "Dude, you had a uniform. What's going on?" I was like, "Yeah, let me talk to you for a second." So I went in the manager's office, man, and I told him, I was like, "Man, I appreciate the opportunity. Great company, learned a lot, but I want to step out and do my own thing." And he was like, "Man, I totally understand. You know what I'm saying? You got a good head on your shoulder. You're sharp. You know what I'm saying? Go for it." And he was like, "But put a 2 week notice in. That way, if things don't work out, you can always come back." And I was like, "Man, I appreciate the advice, but unfortunately, this is my last day. I can't put that 2 week notice in." And he was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to code you as a rehire." And I was like, "Man, I totally understand." And if you fast forward a little bit in the story, man, I regretted not putting that 2 week notice in, because my first year in business, I made $8,000.
Mm.
As a 3-year-old kid, it was just not a lot of money at all. But I had to do it, because going through that self-development process, I had read something that said, if you don't burn the bridges, you will always retreat. So because I burned the bridge, it was no way for me to go back. So I had to go forward. So, man, stepped away at 24, and, started the T-shirt company out of my 2-car garage over in Nashville. Did that for about 2 years there before moving back home to Memphis in 2014. So currently 34 now, man. So I've been an entrepreneur and self-employed for 10 years.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't even know. I had no idea about FedEx Kinkos, because I remember when they was the little stop before. I think did FedEx buy them and then they expanded.
Yeah, so FedEx bought them way before I started working for them,
Okay.
but just never rebranded it. And then they started going through this rebranding process, and it was FedEx Kinkos. It was Kinkos originally.
Right.
Then it became FedEx Kinkos. Then it became FedEx
Office.
Office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they just kind of did away with the whole Kinkos. I liked it better when it was Kinkos.
Cool. But man, tell me what it was. One, what made you want to get into entrepreneurship? Because different people have different reasons. So like some people say, I don't want to have a boss anymore. Well, okay, that means you're gonna have to be your own boss. Or some people just say, well, I just want to make a whole lot of money. Okay, well, you got to earn that that money. So what made you want to get into entrepreneurship? Because originally you were in graphic design, so why not explore that pathway as far as
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, man, I think when people ask that question, they instantly think that because you're an entrepreneur, you feel like, corporate America is bad. I don't feel like it was bad. It just wasn't for me.
mm-hmm.
I wanted to be able to control my time. I wanted to be able to, get up and go when I wanted. I wanted to be able to control my income. So those was a lot of decisions that, or a lot of the reasons that I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And honestly, I was an entrepreneur at an early age. The graphic design route, I think, was just a way for me to stay in that creative space that I love so much. But starting a magazine company to doing painting and drawings for people for the holidays, I've always had that entrepreneur spirit. So that was one of the main reasons I went towards that way. And fast forward to today, there are now a lot of reasons that I didn't necessarily choose entrepreneurship back then, but I recognize that I'm glad I did at the time that I did, because of some of the benefits that we have now. We're family business. My brother works here. My wife works with me. My daughter gets excited when she comes into the TeeShirt Lab, because it's a family-owned business. She knows everybody here. Everybody knows her. She's getting to learn entrepreneurship, getting to learn about money. So there's a lot of perks and benefits that we are able to take advantage of now that I didn't necessarily see or recognize as a 22-year-old kid or 24-year-old kid when I started, the TeeShirt Lab.
Right. So what made you start the t-shirt, like specifically the t-shirt lab? Like you said, I'm gonna go t-shirt company. I'm gonna kill it. Like let's go. I'm gonna quit today. Like I'm walking in and I'm quitting my job today. I've got cases on all you. You know what I'm saying? So like, but what made you say and so confident, like say t-shirts? That's the way.
Yeah, man. So rewind a little bit. When I was working for FedEx Kinko's and still going to school in Chattanooga, a lot of t-shirt printers would come in during third shift. They'll be working on film, transparencies and things like that to be able to set the screens up.
Right.
So I would be the one that would help them. I would ask them a ton of questions, man. What are you working on? How does it work? And so I would do a lot of research while I was working there. And then I had a buddy that went to school with me. His girlfriend was the SGA president.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, hey, she went to him and said, hey, do you know anybody that do T-shirts? And he came to me and he was like, yo, can you do the graphics for this T-shirt? You know what I'm saying? We can make some money. I was like, yeah, I'll do the graphics, no problem. So we chopped up the graphics, sent it back to her, and she loved it. And she was like, how much does it cost to get the T-shirts printed?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, let me pull up a contact or whatnot. So somebody came in, guy by the name of James. I still keep in touch with him today. But he came in, he had his own little small T-shirt company in his garage in Chattanooga. And I told him, I was like, hey, we got an order. I think it was like 500 T-shirts or something like that. They was giving them away. We charged them crazy price, $10 per shirt. So it was like a $5,000 order. It was my first T-shirt order. And when we cut that check and I saw how much money we made off of those T-shirts, I was like, yeah, eventually this is the industry I want to get in. So that's kind of how that seed got planted.
So wait, was this senior year? Was this first year after graduation? When was this?
So I didn't graduate, man. I quit college my second semester junior year. I realized, man, going through that self-development process and reading, I realized that I was racking up a lot of debt that I wasn't necessarily going to use or benefit me because of my entrepreneur spirit. So I cut the bleed, man. I walked away from school with only $9,000 with student loan debt.
Okay.
So compared to some people today, man, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's great.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah. So I walked away, man, when I realized that the traditional job scene wasn't for me. So once it's about when did I decide to be an entrepreneur, I think I always knew that I was going to go towards the entrepreneur route, and everything that I did kind of lined up, you know what I'm saying, to push me in that direction. But yeah, that's how I got into the T-shirt industry. And after that, we still funneled a couple orders to him from campus, you know what I'm saying, for a few years. That was probably my sophomore year. And when we moved up to Nashville, I remember we were moving to Nashville, and we walked into the storage place, and we was talking to the guy, and he was, you know, just asking, what do we do professionally? I told him I was a graphic designer, and he was like, man, my baseball team needs a new design for T-shirts. So I'm like, cool, I do T-shirts. And, you know, took the order and outsourced it. And then when I was able to afford to get some equipment, you know, I started doing everything on my own.
Right. Man, okay. So you just grew into it, and so the beginning was the early seed of the SGA order.
For sure.
And then you definitely was like, okay, I can do this. So how do we go from 5,000 on that one order to 8,000 in your first year?
Oh, Lord, that's a great question.
Were you married at that time? Were you first year?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was married when I stepped away and started the company. Man, I think it's just one of those things that you just gotta, you know, get out and grind. Nothing comes easy. And although I had success, you know, early on when I didn't necessarily own a T-shirt company, it was a different story when my name was on, you know what I'm saying, the business card. And then having relationships in school, it was just one of those things that was easy. You know, they sent it to us, we knocked it out. It was my friend, girlfriend. We didn't have to bid on it or anything. It was just an easy order. But in the real world, you got to get out, you got to shake hands, you got to pass out business cards. People don't know Kelvin Woods, they don't know the TeeShirt Lab, so I had to let them know who I was. Right. And there was just a period of time there that I just had to continue to sow seeds, grow, grind, let people know who I was before people trusted me to be able to do their orders. So that's really why we didn't generate a lot of revenue up front. I was a one-man show, man. I was getting up early, answering emails, going networking. I was going through 10,000 business cards a month, you know, just trying to get my name out there. If it was a breakfast networking spot, I was there, shaking hands, nervous as crap, you know what I'm saying? The youngest person in the room, didn't know much about business, didn't know much about elevator pitch, but I was there, you know. And today is nothing. I can walk into a room and, you know, introduce myself and do all these things. But it started, you know, when I was 24, extremely nervous, didn't know what I was doing. But, you know, just going through that process, man, over and over and over again, you know, people eventually started, you know, trusting me, knowing who I was. And that's kind of how the ball started rolling.
Right. So talk to the people who are maybe in that place that you were, that they making that first 5-figure year, and they looking to transition to 6 figures, or looking to take their business to that next level. What was like that process like for you, that hard turn, like when things started to actually like consistently come in and consistently, like you're consistently getting orders, you're consistently getting referrals, like business is coming and you're growing. Like what was that turning point for you?
Yeah, for sure, man. So, kind of answer your question, what would I tell somebody that's kind of looking to transition into taking their business to the next level? I'm real simple. I try not to overthink anything. I truly believe that everybody knows deep down inside what they need to do to go to the next level. The question is, are you going to face that fear, and do what you know you need to do? Or are you going to try to figure out other things to make the business grow? And truthfully, yeah, you can play around with other things, and you may see some business growth, but truly the growth that you want is going to be facing that one or two things that you need to do, what I'm saying, to grow the business. Whether that's walking in and out of places, shaking people's hands, saying, hey, I'm Kelvin Woods, I own the TeeShirt Lab, do you guys order shirts?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's tough, man. I remember doing it, when I first started the company, going in and out of places, and I'm having to pump myself up before I got out the car. Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? The worst they can tell you is no.
Mm-hmm.
And going there talking extremely fast, hey, la, 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 because I'm nervous, and they looking at me like, dude, no. And then I get back in the car, I'm defeated. And I'm like, I'm broke. So I'm going into this next place. You know what I'm saying? And just continuing to do that. And that was that one thing for me that I didn't necessarily want to do. Picking up the phone, making phone calls. Those are the tough things in my opinion to do. I was cool with the creative side. I can print t-shirts all day, but talking to people, facing my fears, trying to sell, that was one of the most challenging things for me. So, and man, just facing that fear head on, you know what I'm saying, and knocking it out the park. And, I think at every transitional point, man, you gotta make sure that you well studied, as much as you can be. You're not gonna know everything. Things are gonna come up once you make that transition that you just couldn't prepare for. But always having a little bit of capital saved up, you know what I'm saying, knowing what direction you want to go in, having a game plan, a roadmap, to know exactly where you're going. You may not get there. You may, it may take you longer. You may get there quicker. But knowing where you're trying to go, I think, is always going to be the key. You can't, you can't hit a target if you don't have a target, basically.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Man, I got to drop the bomb on that one, because that is so important, because it is that one or two things that you need to you need to do that can take your business to the next level. For some people, it's procrastination.
For sure.
Some
And I talk to people all the time, man. They want to start their own business. They want to be an entrepreneur. And, they asking about, accounting. They're asking about, taxes. They asking about all these things. And, yeah, those things are important, and eventually you need to get those things together.
Mhm.
But truly, those aren't the things that's going to grow your business. What's going to grow your business is facing those fears, man, and getting out there and letting people know who you are.
Man, that's big. Okay, so tell me tell me what this is like, because you've been OG. You've been married to your high school sweetheart for a long time. I'm only married for going on 3 years, and I'm sitting here trying to I'm trying to even contemplate what I would even tell my wife after I just quit my job and I just made $8,000 a year. It's okay, babe. Just believe in me. So tell me what that was like, because I'm very curious.
Okay, so this is a tough question. I don't think anybody has ever asked me this, and it's a tough question because you got to know who you are and you got to know who your spouse is. For me, living a life that I don't desire to live is a non-negotiable. So going to my wife and saying, hey, I'm thinking about, I want to start a business, I want to do this, that's not me. My thing is, yo, this is what I'm doing. This is what's going to benefit us the most, and it's not running it by her, and like I said, you just got to know yourself. You got to know your wife. But I can have that much confidence because I knew that what I was willing to do when things got hard. When there was $0 in the account, Kelvin Woods knew that he was going to get out and go, sell, or I was going to knock on somebody's door. I was going to figure it out. So the only reason I would ask is to get permission to fail. Is it okay if I do this? Because in the back of my mind, there's a chance that I may fail. I'm not asking because I know failure is an option. So it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. But you got to, like I said, you got to know yourself and you got to know your spouse. It worked for me. My wife is extremely supportive. She knew I was an entrepreneur before we got married. She knew who I was. She saw me go through this intense self-development process. So all of that played into my way of approaching her with what I was trying to do. So when I said, yo, this is it. And actually, man, before I officially walked away, I had already started, planting seeds, networking, doing things. I quit when it became too much for me to do both. Financially, I wasn't where I needed to be,
Right.
but it was still too much for me to be able to do both. And I just saw more opportunity on the entrepreneur side. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm done. And she was like, okay. But she had already saw me doing the work. So it wasn't one of those things that was hard.
Yeah. And y'all was still, so when you walked off, this was, did she finish? Or did she jump in with you? She jumped out with you.
Nah, that joker finished college in 3 years, man. So she was one of those. Patrice is one of those people, man. I'm one of those people. We took an English class together, and I vowed never to take another class with Patrice because she would give us an assignment. I'll come home to my dorm and I'll knock the assignment out immediately. Assignment ain't due until 2 weeks. Patrice would do the assignment an hour before class. I would get a C. She would get an A.
Wow.
So one of those type people that, what I'm saying, she gets it. And she don't have to do a lot of studying, anything like that. So she was able to knock out her 4-year degree in 3. And yeah.
And get her a nice cushy corporate job while you chase this little entrepreneurial dream.
Sure. And she was working for the company that she eventually started working full time for while she was in college. So she interned for them for maybe a year or two. And when she graduated, it was just an easy, transition for her to start working for them.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's crazy because I know there's plenty of people out there who have spouses that are like, I don't know about this entrepreneurial stuff. Like I had an uncle, I had a cousin who tried it and they failed miserably and all this good stuff. But that's great, because at that point y'all were what 5 years together, and then y'all been married for a couple years at that point.
Yeah. So we were 24 at the time. So we started dating at 17.
Oh, so 7.
Yeah. So 17. Yeah, we started dating at 17. I was senior year in high school. Then we went to school together. So got married, right after school. Then moved to Nashville. So yeah, at that point we had plenty of life together.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so tell the people who the people who you hear, there's no money in the arts. There's no money in graphic design. Yeah, here you are. You basically doing a very successful business within
For sure.
within graphic design. What would you say to those people who are artistically driven, but they just don't know how to find like their path?
Yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of artists tend not to focus on the business side of things. They tend to only focus on the creative side. And I got a ton of friends that's artists. And in a lot of cases, honestly, I'm not accepted in a lot of art circles because I do make a living, from my creative ability. It's almost one of those things to be fully accepted as an artist. You got to be out here starving. And I just don't buy into that. But
Oh, I see.
yeah, man. So, but I think a lot of artists don't tend to focus on the business side, man. Look at how much time it's going to take you to do something. Charge accordingly. Have confidence in your skill and your ability. And man, it's 2021. You got so many opportunities. Everything that you see now is some form of art, from fashion on Instagram, from, your haircut, that's a form of art. Art is in everything that you do, t-shirts that you wear, the way you decorate your home. So as an artist, there is several ways to, make a living from doing art. And then, this is a space that I'm not even super familiar with, but if you start looking into like the blockchains and the NFTs and you start hearing about this digital art and cryptocurrency, and being able to make percentage off of every time their artwork sells, what I'm saying? It's changing the game. It's changing the game for artists. So if you're a starving artist out here today, it's because you don't want to make money. plenty of ways to make money as an artist.
Man, if you are an artist out here making money, it's because you don't want to make money. Man,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
take that to the bank and smoke it. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. But I have a question for you. If you're listening to this podcast and you're hearing the gems being dropped, you're hearing the stories, and you're being inspired, and you say, you know what, I'm ready to create my version of the good life. If that's the case, then I highly recommend that we start working together. And so I want to invite you, for being a listener of the podcast, to a free strategy call with yours truly. And in that strategy call, what we're going to do is to help you really identify what it is that you're trying to do in your personal and your professional life. Help you identify the problems that you have to overcome to make that happen. And then we're going to put together a strategy so that you can go out and create that version of the good life. All right. So if you're really interested, if you're serious and you're interested in creating that version of the good life and taking those steps, what I want you to do is to visit www.kameronlovelace.com/strategy and sign up for your personal Zoom call today. All right. Enjoy the rest of the episode. But okay, cool. So what exactly goes into like a t-shirt business? Because I've seen like this, I've seen that. Some people like, oh, you can just get started, sell it to this company if you want to just get started. Well, you said, okay, I want to do that, but I also want to have my own machine because you remember, I've been up to the store, so I've seen the big crazy machines where you're doing all of that. So tell me a little bit about what it takes to really run and maybe even upgrade and develop a t-shirt business.
Yeah. So I think it's so many different, levels to the t-shirt business. You got your home-based businesses, people that's running little Etsy shops and things like that. You don't necessarily need a lot of equipment. Couple 2-3 things and you good to go. But my vision was always bulk. How do we get the 10,000 piece orders? How do we get the 5,000 piece orders? So that was always my business model. Now we started off as a home-based business because I started in a 2-car garage,
right,
and my minimums was extremely low. At that time, you can order 1 t-shirt from me, and I'll do it, no problem. And as we kind of progressed throughout the years, when we moved out of the garage, we finally got our first store. We upped our minimums to 12 because we had more overhead, we had employees, we had, electricity and things like that we had to factor into the price. And you fast forward to today, we're in a 7,000 square foot facility. We got easily $250,000 worth of equipment, 18 members. So, we upped our minimums now to 24 t-shirts per order. So I think it's different levels, man. And you got t-shirt companies we're small compared to some of these t-shirt companies, that's doing thousands of shirts on a daily basis. My capacity right now is about 16,000 shirts a day. You got t-shirt companies that laugh at that, but it's different levels. You just got to decide what level you want to play at and grow towards that. So the bulk order industry or side of the t-shirt company does require a lot of investment. Because now we're fully automatic. So we run automatic equipment. We don't do the manual pressing anymore. We just couldn't keep up with the demand doing manual. So we invested in our auto equipment, which allows us to crank out, several thousand shirts an hour. But you can do manual. You can do, like I said, the small one-off Etsy, Shopify, things like that. You got a lot of people that's doing drop ship now, small equipment where they can print on a home-based printer, press it onto the shirt and be good to go. So it just really depends on what it is you're trying to do, but it's still plenty of opportunity.
Okay, so you went through very fast. Okay, let's break these down. Okay, so if you are home base, so when you got started at home base, did you have the big? Because I know you in the fancy screen the printer that cranks out thousands an hour. But what were you when you first got started in the garage?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. And honestly, I was fortunate, man. I was blessed big time. So when I decided to step away from my full-time job, I only had a little machine called the U-Do. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Look it up. It's a piece of crap. Okay. And there's no way you can build a t-shirt company off of that. But I had a buddy over in Knoxville and he was kind of doing some things in the t-shirt industry as well. And we had talked about it or whatnot, and he had hit me. He was like, "Yo, I'm selling some of my equipment." So I'm like, "All right, cool, man." He was like, "You can come down here and buy a press." So I'm like, "All right." So told Patrice, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave the shop. I'm gonna leave work early." Or actually, I was still working at that time.
Mm.
So I was like, "I'm gonna leave a little bit early. I'm gonna shoot down to Knoxville and pick up a press." And this is when I got this equipment. That's when I knew it was time for me to step away. But anyway, I was like, I'm gonna go down here and get this press. So I got down there, and he was like, "Yo, it was a guy that was supposed to come before you and get the rest of this stuff. This is my last day. I gotta clear this out."
Mm.
And the amount of money that I paid for the amount of equipment it was a blessing, man. I got a whole print shop, so I had a 6 color, 6 head or 6 station manual press. I had a light table. I had a wash booth. I had probably several $100s worth of inks. I had blank t-shirts, catalogs. So I literally opened up a full print shop in my garage when I did step away from the job. So I was blessed, big time, in that regards, because I was just going down there to get that press.
Right.
And when I got down there, he was like, "Yo, somebody was supposed to pick up before you. They didn't come. I got to get all this stuff out." He didn't charge me any additional, so I took everything.
You're just at the right place at the right time.
Right place, right time, man. God moving His hand, dude. And it's always like that. It's once you make a decision, it seems like everything, in my life, I feel like every time I make a decision to do something, things start lining up to support that decision. But the biggest step is you got to make the decision, what I'm saying, and commit to that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever read The Secret or watched it on, YouTube, where it talks about keeping the things that you want in front of you. You manifest those things, what I'm saying? What you say comes to you and things like that, man. I believe in all of that. I believe that once you make the decision, the universe then starts to move things in place, what I'm saying, to support that decision that you make.
Right.
But you can't trick the universe. You can make a fake decision, and I feel like the universe knows that, like, yeah, he ain't necessarily serious. But once you serious, things always tend to line up, what I'm saying, to support the decision that you made.
Man, that's big. Somebody needs to just decide that they're gonna do it. They need to decide that they're gonna put 100. We follow ET 120, not 70, not 80, not
Yeah,
99, but 120, 100% effort. That's awesome. Okay.
man. I tell you, shoot, put 50%. It don't matter. Just go. I think the challenge is we are so well studied and educated. You know what I'm saying? And we feel like that's the first step. We gotta get educated. We gotta get educated. But we never, apply that knowledge that we learn. I don't care if you apply 10% of it. Just get started, and eventually, you want to work your way up to that 100%, that 120%. But for some people that's just too much for them to grasp. Like, man, I can't go 120%. That's fine. Just go 5, go 10, go 15, do something. You know what I'm saying? Apply that knowledge that you've learned, and you'll surprise yourself.
Right. Man, that's big. Okay. So what made you transition? Because you said you was in Nashville and then you moved back home. So what made that decision, like, to move? Because I imagine you moving whole clientele. Like, if you have any return customers, there, it's like, I'm moving west. I got to go back home. What prompted that decision? Was that God, or what was that?
Yeah, so it was our daughter. So our second year, my second
Ah.
year running the company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my second year running the company, we got pregnant. So we had the little one, and naturally, because I was working from home, quote unquote, Patrice didn't necessarily see all the work that I was doing. It
Of
was,
course.
oh, the baby can stay with you,
Right.
you know.
No.
So exactly. So for about 8 months there, Patrice had, off of maternity leave, back at work.
Mm-hmm.
So for about 8 months there, she was with me every single day. Everything that I was doing. If I was going to drop off t-shirts, I had a box in one hand, had the little car seat in the other
Right.
hand, and it just became too much. I was like, look, I can't do this. We got to move back home, get some support, get some help. We both from Memphis, so we moved. That's why we moved back. Just to get a little bit more help and free me up to really grow the business. Because at that point, the first year I told you we only made $8,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that second year, man, after increasing my hustle and my grind, passing out 10,000 business,
Yep.
Yeah, facing that fear, man, knocking on doors. I had made 60 grand,
Mm,
you know, the end of the year. So at that point, I knew I had something.
right.
And if I was gonna grow it, I couldn't grow it and, what I'm saying, have my daughter with me every single day. It wasn't gonna be healthy for her, first of all. And it was no way that I was gonna be able to grow, the company doing that. So we made the decision to move back home at that point.
Man, what was daycare back then? Because I've heard astronomical daycare prices now. So I'm curious, what was daycare prices then? Because she's
She'll be 8, man, and yeah, she'll be 8 April the 11th in a couple days actually.
wow. Okay,
Yeah. I, you know, I don't know what daycare cost back then, man. I know we got a lot of family support. Patrice worked from home, so she did. I think it's called like a Mother's Day Out. She'll do a Mother's Day Out program at one of the churches that was close to us a couple times a week. But I don't think we fully put her in daycare until we purchased our home out in Arlington, and then we was just too far from family to drop her off. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember what it cost.
man. It sounds like y'all's parents was like, yes, bring me the baby. We want her all day, every day.
Great grandparents, yeah, they were retired at home, things like that. So it helped out.
Gotcha. So what? Tell me about like the family background and like their, because were you the first entrepreneur in your family?
No, actually, man, my grandfather and my grandmother, they on my side, he had retired as a truck driver,
Mm,
and then he started his own dump truck company. And at one point, he had 5 trucks,
mhm.
five or 4 or 5 trucks, I can't remember, but he had all of his sons driving for him, and they did pretty good. Didn't know much about business. Business eventually failed, uh, taxes and things like that. But no, I wasn't the first entrepreneur.
Okay. So when you told your mom, your dad, her Patrice's mom and dad, you said, I'm finna quit Kinko's and I'm finna me and your daughter, we gonna run this business. Well, she already had her job and all this good stuff. So what was the reaction to the family? Because a lot of people are scared to jump because of their family.
Man, let me tell you something. Changing a career from working to being an entrepreneur,
Uh-huh.
that was the easy decision. It was I'm quitting college. That was the
Uh,
tough. That was the
uh,
tough conversation. It's like this ain't for me.
mhm.
And it was all everybody was they were supportive, man. It was, yeah, take some time off. If you feel like it ain't for you right now, take some time off. And if things don't work out, as always, if things don't work out, you can always go back. Never had any intentions of going back. And the conversation with my parents, I don't even think I had that conversation. Like, hey, I'm going into full-time entrepreneurship. It was came home for Thanksgiving. How's everything going? Yeah, everything good. I started a t-shirt company. It was probably something like that.
Mm.
I don't necessarily get permission from a lot of people, man, to, for something I'm passionate about. You got one life to live, man. I say this respectfully, but I personally don't care what people think. You know what I'm saying? I got to do this for me and mine. And what I'm saying? If I fail, that's all life is, man. You're gonna fail. We fail today. We mess up orders. We fail at a lot of stuff, but I ain't finna get permission. I ain't finna get permission to fail. We gonna do this and we gonna figure it out and we gonna keep on moving. That's just my personality.
I don't need that might be the name of the podcast episode. I don't need permission to fail.
Yeah, I don't need permission. You're gonna do that anyway.
Right. Man, but a lot of people like struggle. I mean, you don't, but I mean, a lot of people struggle with that. And I think a lot of people need to hear that I don't need your permission. Like
Yeah,
like it would be great if I had your support, but
for
ultimately I
sure.
don't need your permission to do what I know is right.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to that, man, because you know people will cut you off too. All right, so you think you know everything, you want to do it yourself. You know what I'm saying? You go do it. Now, fortunately, that wasn't my situation, but you got to be prepared for things like that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't necessarily, I wasn't concerned with it, but just understand that once you say stuff like that, like, man, I don't need your permission. Understand that you do isolate yourself, and then you can lose support of people, but you got to be strong enough to say, all right, I'm okay with it. And if you're not strong enough to say that, then your approach can't be my approach. I knew what I was willing to do. At the end of the day, I knew what I was willing to do.
Man, facts. Okay. So tell me when you started becoming uh so not necessarily well, no, let me ask that the solopreneur to building that team. Like you said, okay, I need some help. Like I'm getting more orders than I can physically like screen print and order. Like, what was it like building that team and scaling? Because a lot of people don't transition from solopreneur to that business owner where they have employees. So what was that transition like?
Yeah.
I'm curious.
So man, I read a book called The E Myth
Okay.
by Michael Gerber. Great book.
Hold on.
But it talks about
Let me
systemizing.
write that down. Michael.
I think it's Michael Gerber, but it's the E Myth, and it stands for the entrepreneur myth. And in this book, he talks about how to systemize your business, how to document everything so that one day you can transition out of their position and then put somebody else in their position. So when I started the TeeShirt Lab, my goal was franchise. How can I build a brand that I can franchise? And I successfully franchised 2 locations, of the TeeShirt Lab at one point. But that was always kind of my mindset. So when a task got to the point to where, and let me say this, I was never just a solo entrepreneur. Patrice, even while she was working her corporate job, I'm like, hey, I just ran into this client. They need a quote on 100 t-shirts. I'm not in a position to do that right now. Can you log in and shoot them a quote? So she was always there. Bobby, my brother, who's now, my partner and who runs production,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Nashville. Yo, I got 10,000 t-shirts. I have no idea how I'm going to get this done in a week. All right, cool. I'm coming down this weekend. We'll knock it out together. You sleep for a couple hours. I knock it out. I sleep. We knock it out. So I was never solo, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I got to give them mad credit, man, because I think people see the TeeShirt Lab and, yeah, I'm the face of it, but this didn't come together just because of me. Bobby and Patrice put crazy hours in, what I'm saying, and extremely dedicated to the company and the brand, and that's why we were able to grow. But man, that was always my focus, to try to franchise it out. And because I documented and systemized every single, and that's my mind too, man. I love systemizing stuff. I'm just not that good. If it's not a system, I probably end up failing. So I recognized that early on. So I brought on Bobby, which was great because he was, my brother. And I was like, look, we ain't making no money. You know what I'm saying? Keep your job. I'm gonna do this thing full time, and you just kind of help out as you can. And then when it got to a point to where, he couldn't juggle both of them, we had to have a conversation like, yo, it can grow, what I'm saying? But I can't ask you to step away from your full-time career to pursue something that I felt like was my dream.
Right.
But he was like, nah, man, I see the vision. I see where we going. This is what I'm doing too. So he stepped away full time. And honestly, man, when we moved back in 2014, I don't think Bobby and I took a salary for 2 years. We took enough to cover bills,
Right.
to eat, things like that. But that was it. Everything else went back into the business. And then when we hired our first employee, we didn't have the money, but we also didn't have the capacity to keep up with what we were doing. So we just stepped out on faith and we hired the employee and it worked out. And then we hired another one and it worked out. And then we hired another one and it worked out. And then we found creative ways to get through some of the busy seasons. We did a lot of internships through city programs and things like that. So we'll get, 5 or 6 kids that would come in and, help us out. They would fold t-shirts and stuff like that, freed us up to do the more important stuff until we can afford to, bring on staff. So that's kind of how we did it and kind of how we transitioned into it.
Why am I picturing you with little kids and chains to their ankles, chained to the t-shirt? Hey, get back to work with the
That would be a very inaccurate picture.
Right.
Nah, man, it was dope though, man. I got these kids, and when I say kids, they were, sophomores, juniors,
Right.
seniors. Right. Actually, man, what's crazy is one of my employees is started from their internship, and he's still with me today. You know what I'm saying? So it was so cool because these kids would come in they wanted to be, entrepreneurs, and they wanted to learn because they kind of got a chance to pick what they wanted. They saw the profiles of the companies and stuff like that. So the ones that we got, they picked us. So they wanted to learn about it. So, we would do this thing, man, where we would literally just pour information and knowledge into them as we were working. Yo, you in high school, this is what you need to be looking out for. This is what you need to do. We'll teach them about entrepreneurship. We'll teach them their mindset. And we get kids, man, that worked for us years ago that will come in and be like, yo, I remember something you told me, man, that really helped me out. Let me tell you what I'm doing now. And it's just a cool thing to see now. So no, we definitely wasn't chains and cracking whips, man. It was a real cool. TeeShirt Lab is probably the coolest place you can work. You ask any of my employees, it's, man, probably one of the coolest places you can work.
Oh, I believe it. And then y'all not only do you get to flex that creative juice, but then it's a family mindset. You got your daughter running around, I'm sure. Hold on, does your daughter know how to make a t-shirt yet? I'm sure you done put her on the machine.
Nah, man, she don't. I probably won't teach her how to make a t-shirt. She needs to learn more, how to scale and things like that, man. So she can take some orders. I can tell you that. She go to school and come back with a different request every day. Yo, I told so and so I'll bring her a shirt. Now the money part of it hadn't been attached to the order.
Yeah. The value of
a dollar. Take a lot of orders.
Yeah, the value of $1 doesn't really matter to an 8-year-old yet. But yeah, I got you. Okay, so tell me when you started like expanding to like other businesses, because I know you got the heart of an entrepreneur. So did you? My phone trying to talk. But I know you got the heart of an entrepreneur. But when did you start like investing in like real estate and like the conversations me and you had, like real estate and stocks, and like when did you say like, okay, I'm ready to invest in other ventures too?
Yeah, some of it, man, we just kind of backed into it. Real estate was one of those things we just kind of backed into it because initially, when we came back, we put our business in Orange Mound. Now, we strategically chose Orange Mound for several different reasons. One of the biggest reasons was the property that we occupied was a family, owned property, so we can get in with basically no overhead. We just had to put, money into renovating the property because it was in bad shape. So, and then when we kind of started outgrowing that, we started looking at the properties around us so that we can eventually, expand and build a bigger, warehouse or facility. So that's kind of how we started getting into the real estate. Patrice's grandfather, he got into real estate as well when he was a young man. And I don't know if you know like the properties over the Home Depot. No, it's a Home Depot. I'm sorry, Home Depot off of Poplar over there by White Station.
Yeah.
So from what my wife tells me, he was in real estate kind of in that area before Home Depot came in and purchased all of those properties. And then he took his buyouts from them and then came and invested in Orange Mound and had 30, 40 properties at one point in time. So a lot of real estate then that we would get would be some of the properties that no longer having tenants in that was maybe in bad, shape. So we would come in, we would catch up on the taxes, we'll put a little bit of money into it, and we would rent it out. So that's kind of how we got into the real estate side of things. My wife, she's a real estate agent, so she's our license, and she kind of, like I said, backed into that from a standpoint of she only got it so that she can be able to handle our, personal home purchase. And, she picked up clients along the way. It was never one of those things where she set out to be, a real estate agent. But the art part, man, so, I host an event annually called Black Artists. It's an art event. And that was one of those things that really I just kind of put on the shelf for a long time. I was focused on, being an entrepreneur and growing business. And then when we got to a point a couple of years ago, was this 2021? I want to say 2018 was the first show. Yeah, 2018 was the
so, yeah.
18 or 19, one of 18, I think. So I had, man, it was a lot of stuff that was happening that was just kind of inspiring me at that point. We went down to New York for just a quick little vacation, and we just kind of happened to be, in some galleries and just kind of looking around. It's like, man, this is cool. I like this. Went over to Chattanooga. While we was in Chattanooga, it was an art show going on. So we kind of stumbled into that. It was like, cool. And then She's Got to Have It on Netflix came out, remake of the old
show. Yeah.
She was an artist. So, and then I had a good buddy of mine named David and Drummond who does a show called Life is Dope. No, not Life is Dope. Young, Gifted, and Dope, which is an art show that they did here. So I went to it and I'm like, man, this is cool. So I got never really set out to do a show, but I just got inspired to come home and paint. So we was approaching the MLK 50, the 50th year of his assassination here in Memphis. So I was like, man, it'd be cool. Let me do something. So I started working on the MLK piece and did one. I was like, man, that's cool. Then did another one. I was like, all right. Then I did another one. And I looked up, I had 8 pieces. And my wife was like, look, we don't have enough wall space for you to be painting on. So what are you doing? And then you know what? That's a great question. So I pulled 4 artists together. And I was like, yo, let's do a show. Didn't really have no expectations, just wanted to put it out there. And that first show, man, we had over 500 people show up.
Right.
Really cool show, dope, man. Had a great time. And I was just like, me, now the entrepreneur side the wheels started turning. I'm like, man, 500 people came through. It's like, man, let's see how big can we do it. So, the next year, we invested a little bit more money, got a bigger venue, put more artists on the platform, and almost had like 2,000 people come out the second year. So that's kind of how we started the whole Black artist, the art brand, the platform for artists, local artists to get recognition and things like that. So that's kind of how I kind of got back into the art. It was something that was always there, but because I was focusing on business at the time, I put it on the shelf until I had the time and the capacity to be able to do it. And it was just perfect timing, man. We're in the process of planning out our next show. We're just kind of looking at COVID, trying to see what things are going to do. Want to make sure that when we do it right. So that's kind of why things have been on hold right now.
Oh yeah, of course. It's the whole what do people call it? A pandemonium, a panoramic.
For sure.
all those things. So yeah, Black artists coming back very soon. As soon as everybody gets vaccinated and stop wilding in Miami and where are they at? Miami, Atlanta.
Everywhere, dude. Everywhere. You can just pull up your Instagram.
Man,
people just gathering.
Just being wild. What was I finna ask you? Because it was something. That's what it was. So tell me, like, the balance between family and like fluttering those entrepreneurial wings. Because like you said, I don't need permission to go out and do what I need to do. But
sure.
But how does that balance with making sure that you have a thriving marriage and that you are there for the dog? I know, like, they're there for you, like at work. But I've talked to a couple people, and not everybody can navigate working with their spouse like so seamlessly. So tell me what that's been like for you.
Yeah, man, and we've had some growing pains and things like that. I'm not gonna be the one to tell you that man, it was perfect. Nah, I had to read, I had to study, I had to figure out how to make this thing work. And one of my favorite artists, man, not artists but authors. And success teachers is Grant Cardone. So I read somewhere in one of his books that he said, man, it really isn't any balance. He said, what you have to do is you have to 10x in every area of your life. And you have to read his book 10x to fully understand, the 10x principle. Right. But what I took from that was, all right, there's a lot of different things that's pulling at me, that's pulling at my time. I'm doing certain things to make sure that business is still going, that don't allow me necessarily to be at home with the fam all the time. But what I do is when I'm with them, I'm with them. It's kind of like a gas tank, right? The gas tank is on empty, but when I'm with them, my whole intention is to fill that gas tank up.
Yeah.
Saying so now I can go off and do other things, and the gas tank, is full, and it might start getting low. And when it gets to the point to where it's getting low, all right, it's time for me to get back in there and fill that tank up. So man, when I'm with them, I just try to be with them 100%, no distractions, put the phones down, let's hang out. But the unique thing is, we work together.
Right.
My wife sits directly across from me. What do you want for lunch? What are you doing after work? What do you want to eat for dinner? So, we're together all the time. The little one, she gets dropped off at the shop about 3:30 every day after school. So she's here with us. We playing, we having fun. We just together all the time, man. So now it's easier to achieve that balance. But back then, before Patrice came on board, that was kind of my philosophy. I had to fill up the gas tank when I was with them, and I had to give them my undivided attention, so that so that we'll be good.
Man, that's a good day. That's a good one for people who are still in that mode where they gotta, like, how am I there for my son, my daughter, my wife? So just, hey, when you're with them, be with them. Okay. So let's start to bring it home, because I know you got to get home to that wife and that kid. So,
Are we chilling, man? I told them we had this going on today.
oh, okay, cool. Well, I don't want to take advantage of Patrice's kindness, because if those of y'all who know Patrice, like, she don't play. But so talk to the people who are like in your position, like where you were growing up, who maybe they got that entrepreneurial itch, they don't know where to start. Maybe they got, that they got that artistic gene, but they don't know how to transition to entrepreneurship. Maybe they're in the middle of they English class, getting those C's on their paper. Like, man, I just don't see myself doing this college thing. Like, talk to those people. What would you tell them?
Man, I think if you're in a place where you're trying to make a decision and you kind of straddling the fence, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? I think exposure, man, is the biggest thing. And exposure comes in many different forms. Mentorship, somebody that has been down the road, has done, that's already did it, that's living a lifestyle or has the business, find that person, offer them, hey, look, can I buy you a cup of coffee once a week on me? And sit down and ask you 3 questions. I won't ask you no more than 3 questions. I won't take up no more than 30 minutes of your time. And then they can start exposing you to things that they've seen along the industry, and that way you can make a better educated decision. Also, just get up and go. If you want to be an artist, go to the art galleries, talk to some of the artists, figure out what it is that they're trying to do. If you want to be a business owner, walk into these shops, figure out, hey, I want to start a t-shirt company. What does it take? And don't be afraid of, the results of what you get. Some people might say, you know what, nah, bro, I'm not teaching you anything. But then honestly, you'll get a lot of people that say, like myself, I don't mind sharing information from you, because I think it's one of those things that the people that's not secure in what they do and understand the principle that what God has for you is for you and can't nobody take away from you, those are the selfish people, right? So they're not going to give you anything. They're not going to tell you any information. That's cool. You don't want to learn anything from them anyway. So keep finding the people that's willing to give you, information. But exposure, man, exposure. You do better because you know better. And I think that's the challenge that we have with inner city, kids and, things like that. They just not exposed to anything outside of the hood. But as soon as them kids realize that, oh my God, you can drive a car like this, you can live in a house like this, what I'm saying? You can have your own pool, you can do these things, you can give back, you can sow into your church, you can do when they understand these things, now you have something to aspire towards. You have something to, keep you going every day. But it's exposure, man. You gotta get exposure. You gotta get exposed, because it becomes a point. And that's why I tell my close friends, you can only talk to me for so long, what I'm saying, before you're faced with that decision, what I'm saying, because you can't run from it, you can't hide it. Like, if you talking to me about entrepreneurship and you talking to me about business and we talking about that on a consistent basis, it's only so long before you gonna stay at a corporate job, because my whole mentality, you just can't, there's no way you can keep up with it, what I'm saying, working a job. So you gonna come to the realization soon enough. That's why I'm always cautious when I talk to people about business, because I know what I'm willing to do when things get hard. But are you willing to do the same thing? If not, we can't talk like that,
Right.
because it's the matrix, it's the red or the blue pill, and you gonna have that decision eventually. You know what I'm saying? Continuing to hang around people that, what I'm saying, that's entrepreneurs, that's successful entrepreneurs.
And you get some exposure is what the man is telling you. Like, get exposed to people who are out here doing it. If you want to be a full-time artist, get exposed to what a full-time artist does. Like,
Yeah, man.
do the thing. Okay. So what is next for Kelvin Woods, the entrepreneur? I don't want to limit you to like T-shirt Lab. Like, what's next? I know we talked about stuff offline, but I don't know if you're ready to
Yeah,
share
yeah, for
some of
sure.
that stuff yet. But what's next for Kelvin?
Yeah, man. So COVID has completely shifted, you know what I'm saying, life in the way we do things. I value, you know what I'm saying, chilling at the house now. I value, doing things with the family on the weekends and things like that. So, man, I'm more so approaching a minimalistic lifestyle, not too much chaos. I'm involved in a lot of nonprofits and things like that, man. And some of them, still need my time and attention, and some of them don't. So I'm starting to really just kind of scale back and really look at how can I use my time, more effectively instead of spreading myself so thin and just giving a little bit of myself to, so many things. How can I give more of myself to one thing? So with the T-shirt lab, man, it's a never ending process of systemizing the business, always seeking, the best systems, and embracing technology, man. How can technology take, the business to the next level, and starting to invest in those, softwares and things to make the job a whole lot easier for us to scale and be able to, accommodate more clients. So that's kind of what we're doing in T-shirt Lab. Black artists, man, we're going to come back bigger and better than ever. I don't know what that looks like just yet.
Right.
2020 show was going to be Black Artists, Black Gold, and it was going to be big, man. We had 5 galleries. We had a gallery coming out of Harlem. We had a gallery coming out of Atlanta, Dallas, Nashville, and then we had Memphis. So we was going to have 5 different galleries represented in this show, man. So we might still implement some of those things, but we might have to change it up a little bit. We haven't had a brainstorming session just yet. But, man, yeah, in doing some stock investing now. I've been exposed to that. Social media is interesting. Back in the day, man, you didn't have this level of exposure. So it's almost like you can do a little bit of everything and be successful in it just with a little bit of information that you get from social media. So, man, I'm just kind of chilling right now. Just kind of evaluating, waiting on COVID, to see what COVID's gonna do. We took advantage of, man, ton of deals. Equipment was cheap, this last year because when nobody buying anything. So we really equipped the shop with, some technology and some equipment to when things bounce back, man, we'll be able to do our job a whole lot better. So that's kind of where we at right now.
Man, it sounds like you're sitting back and just waiting to make that master move. Like when the time is right, we're gonna strike. So
yeah, absolutely, man. We're always opportunity, man. You got to be prepared when it comes, So we're always prepared for the opportunity when it presents itself.
Man, big fact. So, all right, tell the people. Well, I know you don't mind like mentoring and helping out people. So tell the people where they can find you, where they can find T-shirt Lab, all that.
Yeah. So IG, Instagram, you can find me kwoods54. You can find us the T-shirt Lab. It's TeeShirt Lab, Shirt Lab. Facebook also, Black Artist is Black Art ISH-ish, Black Artist on Instagram, also on Facebook. And the website for the T-shirt Lab is thetshirtlab.com. You can call us 901-207-3043. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
And for those of y'all who have not had the pleasure of working with Kelvin, he is great. I have worked with him before. He's great, very responsive too, and yeah, great designs. All right, so that's our show. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate you, Kelvin, for coming on. Like you added a whole lot of value. Definitely appreciate it. All right, for those of y'all watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, go ahead and smash that like button. Hold on. Let me get my air horn. Smash, like all the kids do. Smash that like button, subscribe, so you do not miss the weekly episodes that we give. Y'all know that we bring on like great guests like this who give a whole lot of value to help you create your version of the good life. If you're listening to this on iTunes, subscribe so you continuously get that audio. We need more subscribers so we can get up in the rankings. But until then, you guys know how we do it. We help you create your version of the good life every single Thursday. Until then, we'll see you next week.